Hey everyone, this is Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 72 of Album of the Day, in which, here in this review, I'm wearing my Grinch shirt in honor of the holidays, and so that's a bit of a throwback for you, but the big throwback here is the album I'm going to talk about here. This is a classic indie album that came out back in 1998, released by what I think is one of indie rock's, most consistent bands to ever put out music, that being Neutral Milk Hotel. Pretty much the now deceased band from Ruston, Louisiana, led by Jeff Mangum. I'm here to talk about their second album with Merge Records, and pretty much their classic if you're an indie fan like me. The album is called In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, which I have both CD and vinyl copies of the record. Here's my CD copy of it, in which there's some really nice artwork on here. In my opinion, this is one of the most original cover arts that I've seen on an album. And, I'm not going to show you the packaging for the CD copy. It's pretty much the same things as what you would get in the vinyl copy. So I'm just going to show the inside of this vinyl that I have of the album. Got this at a concert at Merriweather back in the summer of 2014. And while Merriweather isn't such a great venue, regardless of that, the band still sounds amazing live. And they're pretty much now broken up by now after a short reunion tour. So if you want to hear their music, you'll have to listen to the albums. You can't really, catch them on tour or anything like that now. You see there's a little insert here. It's got lyrics and everything. This is like a little mini poster. Really nice artwork on here. Wish it were a bigger poster though, so I could probably hang it up on a... Well, I wouldn't hang it up on a wall since I like to see the lyrics. And this is side 1 and side 2 of the vinyl, which, see, this is, it actually says, Merge 136 on the side there. It looks like it's written. It's pretty cool, because this is the 136th album Merge ever released. So yeah, hold on if I can get this back together. Don't really know what size of vinyl this is. Don't know if this is 180 gram or something like that. 8 gram, something like that. So I don't really pay attention to those facts the way some people do when they, get their vinyl. Except I'm kind of a klutz at them, putting it back together because of how ragged the vinyl sleeve is, usually. And it does sound great on vinyl. If you get vinyl, you're expected to get a little surface noise and stuff like that, which I know that bothers some people, but, that personally doesn't really bother me. And I highly recommend you get this on vinyl. So yeah, I would say this album is definitely one of my favorite records of all time because, what really grabs my attention about it is really the unique mix of, very dark lyrics, unusual, weirdish instrumentation, and just, overall creating such an album that just feels like a really great, resonating storybook almost. Opening with the song King of Carrot Flowers Part 1, which, just right off the bat, shows the album's, ability to just kind of, pull you in with lyrics that are dark yet so moving. Some of the dark lyrics in the song include a girl's mother sticking a fork into her father's shoulder, and the mother drinks till she no longer can speak. And dad dreams of every way to die, each one a little more than he could dare to try. And then it's like a mix of weirdish instruments going on in here, acoustic guitar, air organ, and there's also the use of a zanzithophone on here, which is a weird instrument that some of you may not know. It's like an electronic saxophone. Following that is King of Carrot Flowers Part 2 and 3. 3, which has some really great energy to it with the fuzzy bass and the crazy drumming. It definitely shows that there's a bit of energy that pulls you in as you listen to this album too. It's kind of nervous. There's definitely nervous energy going on here with this album. And then next is the title track, which displays the band's ability to create such intention and detail, and create such a picture out of certain instruments. Like, I love the singing saw on this track, along with the flugelhorn on here. I assume the horn that's used on here is a flugelhorn, because there's like a horn on here that sounds like a trumpet, but it's a little deeper than a trumpet, which is exactly what a flugelhorn sounds like. This is like the first album, Neutral Milk. This is like the one album by Neutral Milk Cartel that's really shows them as a band instead of a side project. On their debut album, On Avery Island, it was mostly as a project between Jeff Mangum and Rob Schneider of Apples in Stereo, which does appear as producer on here. But here it's full band, making a fuller, richer sound, with Jeremy Barnes, Scott Spillane, and Julian Coster backing up Jeff Mangum on this record as some really talented musicians. Following that is the really ironic Two-Headed Boy. The name is pretty ironic because the song isn't necessarily about a two-headed boy or anything like that, but it's really just an interesting song. It's just an acoustic guitar and voice, but that's kind of all it needs, because you kind of need to pay attention to the lyrics when you listen to this album, including this one song. I love how, the vocal performance on here is really nice. Nice on here. The vocals on here sound pretty confident and pretty anxious at the same time. Next is the really nice, pretty, the sad but yet beautiful instrumental, The Fool, which has, these, really nice, got, these funeral horns and this accordion, and there's an accordion in there, some military drumming. It, really fits in with kind of the tone of the album. So Scott Spillane really does show his ability to kind of create some sort of picture with the horns. Picture with some of the horn arrangements that he creates. In fact, he's the one responsible for writing this piece. And let me say, he does a pretty top-notch job on here. Up next is the live favorite, Holland 1945, which Team 45, which features some pretty weirdish stuff on there too. There's a bowed fuzz bass on here, actually. That's played by Jeff Mangum. That's the weird little keyboard sound that you're hearing on here. And then there's those ragged trumpets on there, and features some pretty dark lyrics on there, it mentions a little boy in Spain playing pianos filled with flames, flames and stuff like that. Really just a killer track. Then following that is, the song Communist Daughter, which, not really going to talk too much about this track because there's really nothing too interesting going on here. It's more just about stirring up the record than standing out, really. But Oh Comely, on the other hand, really stood out to me. It's like an 8-minute epic, but somehow in those 8 minutes it manages to actually engage the listener. This is one album there where you're not just going to sit through it. You're going to want to, keep your mind open a little bit to, letting it sort of, this is kind of a record that you need to have some sort of focus on it. You can't just let it be background music when you listen to it. That's just my personal opinion. It tells a story of, a relationship between, the narrator and this girl who, had a father who made fetuses with flesh-licking ladies, so there's some pretty, shocking, lyrical content going on here. And then, it gets real climatic at the end, because eventually the girl dies at the end. And then, the ending is, really beautiful with those horns, and I love Jeff Mangum's little la da 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 da. Just beautiful on there. Full on there. And following that is the track Ghost, which, once again is some really great energy to it. The Jeremy Barnes' drumming on this song is absolutely fantastic. And some really nice horn arrangements. And I love that mixture of the singing saw and the zanzithophone at the end. Really think the two instruments fit so well. And then following that's another track that really stood out to me. The song Untitled, which is a little instrumental. This song makes me so happy when I listen to it. Makes me want to I just jump in my seat listening to this one. And once again, they throw in some cool instruments, they throw in some bagpipes in there, as well as this weirdish organ, and I think the use of the bagpipes on here is just, really nice, and I think is actually kind of crucial to the song, even though they probably haven't used them live before. And then it closes with Two-Headed Boy Part 2, which I think closes the album beautifully because it feels like the end of the story, pretty much. It's a bit of a tearjerker, but, at the same time, a standout track on here. And it closes with some pretty unusual, weirdish lyrics. The boy being fed tomatoes and radio wires. This album, just overall, just a brilliant album that I think, deserves more attention, considering that it's not really a classic unless you're an unless you're an indie buff the way I am. I'm gonna give this album a 9.5 out of 10, I think. In my opinion, I know a lot of other people have said that, but I definitely have to agree with all the praises that people have said about this album. Highly recommend getting it on the vinyl format. If you've never heard any indie albums at all, if you were looking for a place to start, I would suggest maybe starting with this, or Moon in Antarctica by Modest Mouse, or Dig Me Out by Slater Kinney. That's a really good album. which I do have that on vinyl, and I do want to do a review of that sometime. But anyway, that's my review of In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. See you for episode 72. In the meantime, I'm going to close off with a little showing of that.